The Roanoke City Council recessed session for April 27th, 2023 is hereby called to order, and I'll ask our clerk, Ms. Susan McCord, to please call the roll.
Mr. Pretty?
Here.
Vice Mayor Cobb will be absent today. Ms. White Boyd will be absent today. Mr. Volleson?
Here.
Ms. Moon Reynolds?
Here.
Ms. Sanchez Jones?
Here.
And Mayor Lee.
Here, and the quorum is present. All right, if you would join me, I'll lead you in the invocation, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. And I'll ask Councilman Volleson to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. All right. Let us pray. Eternal God, our Father, we come today, first and foremost, to thank you for this day. Thank you for this opportunity that you've given us, Lord, to serve this community. And we ask that you guide and direct us as elected and appointed officials in this city. And Lord, we ask your blessings on our city, and Lord, that you make ways where there are no ways for those who are less fortunate. We give you praise, we give you honor, and Lord, again, we ask that you bless every family that's represented here in this building tonight. We do these things in the name of your Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Volleson. All right. Welcome, everybody, to our recess session, a budget meeting tonight. And I'll just share with you why we're here. Tonight's public hearing will be televised live and replayed on RVTV Channel 3 on Thursday at 7 o'clock p.m. and Saturdays from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. and video stream through Facebook Live at facebook.com/RoanokeVA. Council meetings are offered with closed captioning for the deaf or hard of hearing. The purpose of tonight's meeting is to conduct 3 separate public hearings. 1, recommended budget for the city for fiscal year 2023-2024 at 7 p.m. or as soon thereafter as the matter may be reached. Number 2 is the proposed 2023 annual plan update to the 2020-24 5-year HUD consolidated plan. And number 3, proposed real estate tax rate increase at 7:10 p.m. or as soon thereafter as the matter may be reached. Now, this is important now that the speakers have signed up, but please note that there will be no comments or action taken by the council on any of these matters this evening. We're here to listen to you. All right? So, and many of you have signed up. Our speaker will give you, and I can tell you now, it's going to be 3 minutes. 3 minutes, and that horn's going to go off. And I've been a little loose on enforcing that on most nights, but tonight, if it goes off in 3 minutes, so make sure your remarks and you get your points in during that 3-minute time that you have. And we appreciate you coming out tonight. Thank you. All right, we'll move down to item number 5. It's good to see Mr. Spencer, our attorney, back. Good to see you, Spencer.
Thank you, Mayor.
All right, we got item number 5 is public hearing. 5A is the recommended fiscal year 2023-2024 City of Roanoke budget. And I'm now going to open the public hearing. And I'll call on our clerk to introduce the speakers, and she's going to call you in the order that you signed up. So, Ms. McCoy, would you please call the first speakers?
All right. Our first speaker is Boyd Johnson, and following him will be Robert Mountcastle, and you will have 3 minutes.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm not used to speaking in public, so please forgive me, but thank you for hearing me. And I know your time is brief, but I would like for you to consider providing some additional parking for South Roanoke Park along Edinburgh Street. It is a street that is heavily used, and in the past year, it has been substantially improved. But one of the sidelines to that is that there's less parking. So we need to appreciate and tend to the valuable thing that South Roanoke Park is, and it is a resource that is used by almost every age group in the community, and I would like to continue to see it do so. So I urge you to consider adding the additional parking on Edinburgh that has been approved by the separate departments in the city. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Members of council, I'm Robert Mountcastle, a resident of the city of Roanoke for basically my whole lifetime. I grew up playing at River's Edge. I'm here to speak on the Edinburgh parking situation and parking really in general at River's Edge and Wiley Drive. I think that a solution has to be found. I think the 18 spots on Edinburgh is a great start and a great solution. I'd highly encourage you to put it into the budget and make it happen. You know, I've heard various roadblocks to this or various other solutions that I think we need to dismiss. You know, one rumor I heard was just, well, let's reduce use of the park system. And whether true or not, you know, a solution like that I think is very short-sighted. You know, that's just going to push all that activity to the county, push that tax revenue out of the city. So I think that's really not a wise move. I heard that we can't do gravel lots anymore because of a policy. That sounds like a policy we could change. It doesn't cost anything to change a policy. You know, we've had gravel lots in the city for well before any of us in this room were alive, and they worked just fine. So I think there are a lot of solutions that can happen, but I think the 18 spots on Edinburgh, like Mr. Johnson said, you know, there's been a lot of improvement there, and we need to continue to invest in that improvement and provide a place. My children play there, and I watch them, other children, hopefully not mine, but run down that street when it's crowded with cars, and it's a huge safety concern. People are backing up all the way down the street to try to get out, and something's going to happen. You know, something bad's going to happen, and adding parking is, you know, a solution that's going to help avoid that. So I'd highly encourage you to put it under serious review and find a place in the budget for it. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next two speakers, Suzanne Osborne and Kathleen Jackson.
Good evening, council and mayor. Thank you for letting me comment on the proposed budget. The proposed raises for non-constitutional positions, which include the city manager down to the fellow that picks up my trash, and should not include anyone, the proposed raises should not include anyone making over $80,000 a year. I think it would be a slap in the face of the lower paid workers who need the raise much more so than those at the upper levels. As you know, the raise also increases the amount we, the city, have to pay in benefits for those individuals. The money being considered for those making over $80,000 should be reallocated to the lower income workers where it will make a real difference in their lives. I realize the state compensation board sets the pay for constitutional offices and their staff, and that is beyond our control. However, after speaking with the compensation board, we, the city, do not have to pay more than the guideline. We just can't pay less. So I respectively request that each of you look at those guidelines and compare them to the current salaries of these individuals, and if we're meeting those guidelines, then no raise is justified. As I've stated before in council session, and to many of you individually, the public perception is that our tax dollars are not being managed effectively. Our expectations are the city provides us with police protection, firefighters, pick up our trash, keep our roads in good order, and have a good public education system. We don't ask for more than this, and beyond those basics, it is frills and wants and not needs. We scratch our heads and we ask, where is the $64 billion from the American Rescue Plan being spent, or where is it planned to be spent? The $700,000 in interest that it earned last year, how is that going to be spent and allocated? It's rumored that the renovations to the new school board building are over budget by several $1,000,000. Where is that money going to come from if that in fact is really true? I don't know that it's true. You cannot keep asking the citizens to open our wallets for non-essential services. To continue to do so will begin to drive people out of the city for other residences, county, Salem, and at the end of the day, Roanoke is going to become a dark and lifeless place where only criminals and homeless wander the streets. It's a very bleak outlook, and you don't have to look further than Asheville, North Carolina to see what's happening there. I thank you. And I have a copy for all the council members. It's on the record. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor Lee and members of council. My name is Kathleen Jackson. I'm the Chief Financial Officer for Roanoke City Public Schools, and I'm speaking on behalf of Superintendent Verlita White this evening, who unfortunately couldn't be here herself. She's hosting a recognition event for support staff in our schools. So these are her words. Throughout my childhood, my parents taught me the importance of saying please and thank you and to give credit where it's due. The city's proposed 23-24 budget provides an additional $9 million in funding to Roanoke City Public Schools for a total of $101 million. As superintendent of RCPS, I want to say thank you to City Council, our school board, and the entire community for your consideration of this investment in our schools. RCPS is a beautifully diverse school system serving nearly 14,000 students and employing more than 2,200 teachers and staff. We are working every day to ensure all students graduate with both a diploma and a resume of skills and experiences that will benefit them for a lifetime. In Roanoke, we're blessed to have a strong partnership between the City Council and school system. The city's longstanding school funding policy provides 40% of local tax revenues to RCPS annually. With this money, RCPS funds instruction, athletics, the arts, student support services, and school-related expenditures. RCPS also funds 100% of the debt service that finances school improvement and construction projects, our school resource officers, audit fees, and other specified city expenses. This funding policy provides much-needed consistency and stability in school funding. As federal pandemic funding ends, every dollar of local support is vital in funding crucial school programs and positions to ensure our students accelerate their post-pandemic learning. Focusing on academics, arts, and athletics, or what I call the AAA approach, we provide students with a well-rounded educational experience with an emphasis on literacy. I am proud of our work and excited about our future. Our strategic plan, which was created by representatives across our community, guides our work and provides our path forward. The pandemic was particularly hard on urban school districts like RCPS. We know the impact on our students' achievement and psychological well-being is greater than anyone anticipated. Having said that, our teachers, administrators, families, and staff members are second to none and are rallying to the challenge of helping students recover. I am proud of our commitment to know our students by name and need so we can pinpoint deficits and accelerate learning. Our formative assessment data tells us that our schools are seeing slow but steady growth in most academic areas. Additionally, our 2022 graduation rate held at 89%. We have a long way to go, but the data indicates we are on the right track. Our focus on organizational discipline, safety, high-quality instruction, and pay recognition of our hardworking staff will result in student progress. Additionally, our focus on family involvement, innovative programs, and mental health services will continue to move the needle on student performance while also keeping our students safe and connected to positive and productive activities. Therefore, thank you to Roanoke City Council for this proposal. Considering our historic post-pandemic challenges, this historic funding proposal is critical to our children's future. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next two speakers, Mark Cathy and Christopher Lawson.
Good evening, everybody. On behalf of the school board, I want to echo Superintendent White's sentiments that you just heard. That's from her op-ed that ran in today's Roanoke Times, and it was also in the Cardinal News yesterday, and it was less edited in the Cardinal News. Read the Cardinal News one. I want to thank the City of Roanoke and Roanoke City Council for their proposed historic investment in the education of our youth in the city. We have a strong partnership between city government and the school system. The City of Roanoke's long-standing school funding policy provides that 40% of local tax revenues come to Roanoke City schools. This provides consistent funding that ensures the school system has the resources necessary to meet the needs of our diverse school community. It also provides funding so RCPS can afford investments, such as the 25 enhanced safety measures that were implemented this year, including the new safety tip line, the panic alarm app, school resource officers in every school, and increased services to support students' mental health needs. The consistency of the funding formula ensures that the annual funding is not a divisive us versus them battle that we see in other localities. Instead, we keep our youth at the center of every conversation in RCPS, and both RCPS and Roanoke City are able to plan for the services needed by all residents. Again, as the superintendent said, federal pandemic funding is coming to an end. Therefore, it is imperative for us to keep funding for the school system whole, intact, and consistent. By doing so, we can be sure to fund crucial programs and positions to continue to help our students recover, both psychologically and academically. Thank you very much for hearing me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm here to speak on the Edinburgh parking. Chris Lawson, appreciate your time. I want to first certainly say I'm very happy to know people like John Luger that love the city of Roanoke enough to really get involved as he had over the many years. The parking around River's Edge, I think we all realize that's a great necessity. I'm hoping that you all can find a way to help that get into the budget so that those spaces can be added. I think any way we can help protect children around vehicles moving quickly down roads is important. And it sounds like they have put a wonderful plan together. Looks like people have spent a lot of time on this. And I think it's just a great kind of logical next step in making that area just an even better location than it once was. So don't want to take any more of your time. I know we have dinners to get home to, but I appreciate your time and hopefully we can make it happen. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next two speakers, Laura Hartman and Kathy Carter.
Hello, good evening. My name is Laura Hartman, and I bring you greetings from the Bus Riders of Roanoke Advocacy Group. We have been talking about how transit builds community. They say where transit goes, community grows. Transit is the linchpin for all the other goods in our city. It's the linchpin for employment, for getting to health appointments, for education, and for civic participation. It's a prerequisite for equity, for accessibility, and for inclusion. You all might remember that about a year ago, some of us from Bragg came to this very meeting asking for transit service in the evenings after 8:15, which is when the buses end, and asking for transit service on Sundays. We were so gratified that you all responded by discussing the implementation of a new program called MetroFlex, which would be an on-demand transit service for the evenings and weekends. It's been a year. We've heard nothing about this. I worry that contracting our transit to Valley Metro might be an excuse to avoid accountability. I hope that you all are holding them accountable to use our tax dollars well. We really would like to see this evening and weekend service. Speaking at city council, like we're doing right now, is curtailed if our transit service ends at 8:15, right? I mean, right now it's 7:30. What if it lasts longer? What if this meeting lasts longer and I can't get home after this, right? It really gets in the way of full citizenship for our citizens and many other things. There are lots of reasons why we need that evening service and that weekend service. So we ask you to please fully fund Valley Metro's budget. We ask you to allocate generous funds for sidewalks and infrastructure around bus stops, and also to hold our transit service to high standards. A great city deserves great transit, and we're not there yet. Please do everything in your power to change this through what you do with the budget and the other powers at your disposal. I just want to mention that BRAG, the Bus Riders of Roanoke Advocacy Group, meets the first Thursday of every month at 5:30 p.m. at the Gainsborough Library, and all are welcome to join us. A great city deserves great transit, and together I know we can get there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Kathy. I'm wearing two hats tonight. I'm also here for BRAG, Bus Riders Group, and just wanted to stress the importance of our buses. We have a lot of people that use the bus system, and I'm going to ask that if you would consider funding the Valley Metro budget and just make sure it's fully funded, because they need shelters and benches at all of the stops. They need improved sidewalks at those stops. We have a lot of elderly people that ride buses, and some of the conditions are not safe. And so they wanted me to point that out to you. And in the Gainsborough area, we need more lighting for safety reasons. And also residents on Mormon Avenue need more lighting. I want to ask also that more funding be put into our Parks and Rec department. When you look throughout the Northwest communities, there are no recreation for most of the children and the teenagers. There's a basketball court, there's a slide and a swing, and teenagers are not into that. So we need more recreation. We need more funding going into Parks and Rec to have more after-school programs for all ages. And so I'm just asking that more lighting be done, and that you look at our sidewalks. And in one of these pictures, I'll leave this, but you'll see a bus stop, which is bus 12, how he let the people off in the middle of the street. There's actually nowhere for them to go, so they get off in the middle of the street. And this is something that I'd just like for you to look at. Another neighbor, she had a city tree falling down on her property, and it bent her fence, and she's in her 80s, and that's picture 5. So if you look at that, so these are some areas in Northwest that I wanted to point out. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
The next two speakers, Kevin Bloomfield and John Luger.
Good evening. I'm Kevin Bloomfield, a technology entrepreneur, investor, and mentor. And first of all, I have to say I appreciate what each of you all do, but I don't envy you, because everything I've heard so far tonight sounds very valid and worthy of support. I'm here tonight just to offer my support to the additional parking at the Edinburgh location with Varsity Park. And there will be many people who are supportive of it tonight, mostly from the angle of outdoor enthusiasts and safety for children. But one of the things that's interesting for me is I've been having conversations with Mr. Luger about putting one of my portfolio companies, a small technology business, in the old Graves Humphreys building. And one of my hesitations has been the lack of parking. We are small right now, but we're an artificial intelligence startup that has a potential to grow even larger. And my hesitation is, do I put one of my businesses there, or do I look at another building that I've been considering in Roanoke County? And so from the perspective of being able to create jobs in the region, I know we're doing some really good things on the innovation corridor and a lot of different spaces in Roanoke, but I would urge you to consider the impact of job creations in that building as well, and I appreciate your consideration.
Thank you.
Hello. Great to be with you again. I understand with props you get one more minute, if that's true. Just curious. Thought I could try. I have two posters here. Thank you for your consideration tonight. And I know budget time is a tough time, and so greatly respect what you're doing. I just wanted to, again, ask for your support for the expansion of parking on Edinburgh Street. We've had a front row seat for 5 years when we bought the Graves Humphreys building. Don't know if you recall what it looked like. Wasn't much to look at, but we bought it. We've put a lot into it, a lot of effort, and we've seen the whole community and see how the traffic flows come and go. And it's grossly insufficient at this point, especially as we've had additional businesses join us. It is a public safety issue for sure. It serves about every constituency in the Roanoke Valley, from youth sports to Ironman to the Heart Walk, and you name it. So it serves everyone. So it's really pretty amazing. A first poster here. This was Sunday, and so it's gotten worse and worse. This past Sunday was kind of frightening. In this picture here is parking is starting to occur in front of our business. So we have space between our two buildings where people come, our storage customers and other businesses, and people are starting to park across that opening. So it's really reaching sort of a new level where it could impact businesses, and that's going to be a whole other issue I would probably be much less pleasant about, frankly. So hopefully this is something that makes sense. It's been supported by Roanoke City's Engineering, Parks and Rec, and the Economic Development Departments. Is it a perfect solution? No. What is? It would increase parking by 50%, and I think that would be greatly enhanced. So when asking, how do you justify this expense? I'm sure you have tons of different things competing for dollars of the city, and you have to be a good steward. So is this an expense worthy of supporting? What's the return on investment? Well, the thing is, this location has had investment in it. Our company has invested considerably. We have turned the Graves Humphreys building, which used to look like this, not very pretty, 2018 before we bought it, not very handsome, generated $18,000 some dollars in annual revenue. As of last year, 2022, we're generating over $103,000 in tax revenue per year, $85,000 net. So when you say, where's the money for this? It's right there. It's on the street. We'd like to see it reinvested respectfully to add more businesses like Mr. Bloomfield's promising startup and others. So respectfully, hope you'll consider, and we appreciate your time.
Thank you. The next two speakers, Terry McGuire and Chris Bryant.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council. My name is Terry McGuire, and I'm going to also be wearing two hats tonight. I'll speak first as a supporter of Trees Roanoke and a volunteer with the Roanoke Tree Stewards, and I'm joined here by some other leadership from that organization tonight. On behalf of both of these organizations, we urge you to fully fund the request from Urban Forestry for 2 new tree care positions. We're very grateful for the inclusion of 1 new hire in next year's budget and respectfully request the second out of necessity to achieve council's goals of restoring our tree canopy and addressing the urban heat island effect in Northwest and other tree deserts. Council has graciously allocated $250,000 to fund tree planting. This investment will reap millions of dollars in return benefits down the road by way of air pollution reduction, stormwater management, and increased tax revenue from increased property values, but only if these trees survive. The first 1 to 3 years of a young tree's life are the most perilous and it's critical that the tree receives adequate care, especially watering during this time. At current staffing levels, urban forestry staff are unable to provide this level of care across the city. The tree stewards work hard to fill in the gaps, but are unable to fully do so. We can't and we shouldn't rely on volunteer labor. We must view trees and green spaces as critical urban infrastructure and invest accordingly. Council is aware of the heat island effect in Roanoke and the resulting disproportionate harms and impacts on those communities. We urge you to make this connection between our equity and sustainability goals and protect your investment in our tree canopy and public health. For my second act, I'd like to speak as a volunteer on behalf of the Bus Riders of Roanoke Advocacy Group, BRAG, and echo what my colleagues Laura and Kathy said. We urge Council to fully fund the Valley Metro budget and to continue and accelerate where possible the important work of installing sidewalks throughout the Valley Metro service area so that bus shelters can be installed for the reasons that Kathy and Laura listed. With increasingly hotter summers and more intense storms, it's really important that bus riders be as protected as possible from the elements. This is another opportunity for Council to make the connection between our equity and sustainability goals as well as further economic development. Buses and sidewalks provide mobility and accessibility to job opportunities and important social services for people who cannot or choose not to drive. Your investments in public transportation and pedestrian infrastructure today will help us realize the goals of the 2040 Comprehensive Plan. Healthy, equitable, walkable communities where residents have access to jobs, shops and services, and green space and recreation. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Chris Bryant. I live at 1315 Sewell Lane, and I've been a city resident for over 35 years. I'm presently president of the Roanoke City Volunteer Tree Stewards. I have 35 to 45 volunteers ready to help plant, water, and prune newly planted trees, and we have a very enthusiastic group. And I echo what Terry McGuire just said about the budget. But I would also like to add that we need an additional watering truck for the volunteers to be able to use it, because when the city employees are using it, they can't get to all the trees, and there's only one city watering truck. So I have all these volunteers that are ready to go, but we can't do it without the supplies. We also can't do it without having the assistance of some of the Parks and Rec crew to help them get their jobs done. The city is presently planting in 2023 and 2024 by a budget. They're planting to help the heat island reduction by planting more trees, and those trees will fail in the next 2 years if they are not properly watered and pruned and taken care of. And the Roanoke Tree Stewards are also willing to help with another heat resilient study with Virginia Tech, which we will be talking to the residents of Roanoke City, specifically in Northwest and Southeast, to help them understand the benefits of trees and to possibly even help them plant some trees on their own property, so that in the coming years, when the heat increases in Roanoke City to possibly the heat of Mississippi, there will be some cool places for residents of those areas of the city to cool off. We also are asking that to invest in the Parks and Rec Department, because even though some people feel like it is a frivolous part of the budget, it is not, because it is an important part of the budget to keep our parks fully funded, taken care of, so that youth and adults alike have a place to go to recreate, to de-stress, and also to cool off in the hot summer months. Thank you.
The next two are Nikki Volgen and Tom Carr.
Good evening. Thanks for having us. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, City Council, Bob. Nice to see everybody. Your job is difficult, and I don't take that for granted. So thank you for your time. My name is Nikki Vujer, and I'm the Executive Director of Mill Mountain Zoo. And I want to tell you about how Mill Mountain Zoo is a good zoo. We are a refuge for over 200 animals that are critically endangered, vulnerable, threatened, or non-releasable due to injury or captive birth or owner relinquishment. We are a conservancy that helps protect, preserve the health and viability of animals in our guardianship. Mill Mountain Zoo is a well-respected zoo. Our community zoo is not only fun, unique, family-friendly tourist attraction and educational destination, we are the region's leader in wildlife conservation and participate in national and international species survival plans, research, and conservation programs. In addition to being a historic community jewel and wildlife conservancy, the community would be proud to know that Mill Mountain Zoo is accredited by the Zoological Association of America, which means we uphold the highest professional standards of animal welfare, ethics, and safety in the nation. Mill Mountain Zoo is small but mighty. Your community zoo is not only an asset to Roanoke, but it's also a wise investment for city funding. Mill Mountain Zoo is a nonprofit organization that thinks and operates like a business. We know that we must create many diversified revenue streams to support our mission and operations. And as the zoo grows and develops, so does tourism and our contributions to the local economy. We generate tourism and we pay taxes. We work together. We are a true partner to Roanoke City. In the past 2 years, Mill Mountain Zoo has made nearly $1 million in facility and infrastructural improvements. We have added value to the zoo, to Mill Mountain, and to Roanoke City. We completed 3 capital projects in 3 years, including the Black Bear Night House and observation deck and 2 5,000 square foot state-of-the-art exhibits. And we've made repairs to other exhibits. In addition to facility improvements, we initiated the zoo's first ever endowment fund, thanks to Mr. Haywood Fralin, and a second endowment fund through the Community Foundation serving Southwest Virginia through another new donor. You can also look forward to a new Python exhibit and our new partnership with Carillion to launch the new Carillion Children's Curiosity Corner at Mill Mountain Zoo. In addition to being a collaborative partner that adds value and vitality to Roanoke, Mill Mountain Zoo's operations and programs align with Roanoke City's goals, with particular focus on livability, education, and economic development. Mill Mountain Zoo increases livability, quality of life. Ooh, that was fast. I want to thank all of you for hearing us out. Thank you all for your consideration, your support, and thank you for considering us for safety and security support in this new fiscal budget. Appreciate you all.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm here to plead with you to stop drawing on the Community Development Block Grant Fund for code enforcement and to fully fund that essential program locally. Using grant funds for code enforcement began in 2010 due to the Great Recession. Revenues were declining. Budget in that year was down 1.5% over the previous year. The city's fund balance was almost non-existent at $1.9 million, and the city manager recommended that $98,000 of the $2 million block grant be applied to code enforcement to avoid layoffs. That amount represented 5% of the grant. Contrast that with 2023. There's no financial emergency. The proposed budget is over $100 million more than in 2010, and the fund balance goal is over $42 million. Meanwhile, the block grant, which is the city's main tool for community revitalization, has declined to $1.8 million, and the proposed take for code enforcement is up to $191,000, or 11% of the block grant, continually increasing the demand to fund code by reducing funding for housing and revitalization. Block grant funding for rehabilitation in Belmont Fallon, the current target area, is down $168,000, or 36% over last year. And no money at all is included this year's block grant budget for TAP's homeowner housing rehabilitation program. Finally, HUD has warned that shifting code enforcement to block grant funding is problematic and could result in repayment of federal funds. Roanoke may not be complying with requirements that HUD has set for code enforcement in three ways. First, HUD requires that a majority of code enforcement be focused on buildings. About 70 to 80% of Roanoke's code enforcement deals with things like weeds, junk, and junk cars, things of that nature, zoning, which are not building related. Second, code enforcement is supposed to only be eligible in specific areas where there are revitalization projects occurring, like Belmont Fallon. And third, to the best of my knowledge, Roanoke is not maintaining the kind of time records that HUD requires when code enforcement is charged to a block grant. In summary, code enforcement has been and should be a local responsibility, just like police and fire, and block grants should be reserved for community revitalization and housing rehabilitation. Thank you for your time. I'll leave a set of references with the city manager for your use. Thank you.
Mayor Lee, that was the last speaker for that item, number A.
All right. Thank you. At this time, we'll close the public hearing on the fiscal year 2023-2024 City of Roanoke budget, and we'll go to item 5B, which is the proposed 2023 annual plan update to the 2020-24 five-year HUD consolidated plan. And I'll now open the public hearing, and I will ask our clerk to please call those citizens who signed up to speak on this item.
We have 4 speakers. The first speaker, well, Mr. Carr already spoke. Unless he, no. We'll move on to the next speaker. Karen Mason and Annette Lewis.
Good evening, and I had indicated that Cheyenne Ingram and I would share time, so I'll talk really fast. Good evening, Mayor Lee and members of City Council. My name is Karen Mason. I'm Director of Habitat for Humanity in the Roanoke Valley, and I just want to take a moment to thank you for recognizing the need for affordable housing in our community and providing an opportunity to comment on the proposed funding plan. As you're well aware, Roanoke is in the midst of a severe housing crisis with a deficit of nearly 3,600 of affordable housing units. Rents in our area are increasing faster than the national average, and nearly half of those renters are cost burdened. As evidenced by the number of calls and emails that Habitat receives from folks in the community, many of our citizens are desperate for safe, affordable housing. Many express frustrations with landlords who do little to keep their property in good repair while increasing the rental rate. They state they no longer want to rent and will do whatever necessary to become a homeowner, and many simply wouldn't qualify for a conventional mortgage, but through word of mouth, they hear Habitat might be able to help them. Since 2008, Habitat's been building and renovating homes using HUD funds, and this next fiscal year, we plan on doing several homes in Belmont, Fallon, with the funds that have been approved or proposed. I had hoped that more agencies could have been funded, including TAP. Their work performing major rehab of owner-occupied units is incredibly needed in Belmont Fallon. TAP, along with Blue Ridge Independent Living Center, Renovation Alliance, and others, are the unsung heroes that have worked tirelessly year after year to make our neighborhoods better. And the community needs what they offer, TAP and other agencies offer, and it's my hope that additional funding can be made available to them. In the meantime, thank you for your support and commitment to those in our community. I'm going to use my rest of the time for Cheyenne. She's a Habitat home buyer.
Good evening, Mayor Lee and members of City Council. It is truly an honor to speak with you tonight. My name is Cheyenne Ingram, and as Karen mentioned, I will soon be matched to a property in the Belmont-Fallon area that will soon be a home for me and my 3 children. I currently live in a substandard rental housing that is literally falling apart. One day when I complained to a friend about my living conditions, she suggested that I should apply for Habitat to see if I am eligible for an affordable home. So in December, I applied to Habitat, and a week later, Ms. Joyce, she called me, Ms. Joyce Williams, the the Family Services Director. She called me and told me that I got approved, and I was scared because I thought I didn't get approved. So I was screaming and I was jumping for joy. I was so excited. My kids are excited that they'll soon have a bedroom, their own bedrooms, and I can't wait to no longer rent and finally own my home. So just wanted to say thank you.
Good evening, Mayor Lee, City Council members, City Manager Cowell. Thank you for this opportunity. Let me begin by thanking the city for the long-term support that TAP has received. But put my glasses on, I'll be able to see. Over decades. So thank you so much for your financial support and your partnership to address the needs of marginalized individuals and families. TAP has been an advocate and a voice for many who are intimidated by systems or who have lost hope that they will find the assistance needed to survive and thrive. TAP was at the table to advocate for code enforcement. TAP was at the table for the development of systems and services to house the homeless. TAP was at the table to be one of the city's leaders to meet Governor McAuliffe's goal to end functional homelessness. TAP is a leader in housing or preventing homelessness for at least 100 veterans each year. TAP has expended $250,000 as the land bank for properties that our partners could develop into safe and affordable housing, and we intend to do more. TAP has advocated for safe and affordable housing right here in these chambers. Thank you for hearing the voice of the community by ensuring affordable housing is included when developers plan to develop much-needed housing for this community. We support the efforts of our partners who are doing different tasks to address safe and affordable housing. We seek to not duplicate efforts, but we seek to do our part. Local housing partners met to make sure we all played our role to address safe and affordable housing needs. TAP's role has been to provide major rehab assistance for homeowners in the city, a decision made by TAP and our partners. We were stunned to learn that we would not be able to continue to play this role. In fact, no one will play this role, which will lead to homeowners with limited resources being unable to live in a safe and affordable home. This, in turn, will lead to increased blight and dilapidated property, and potentially more homelessness because of city or health inspectors saying that the home is unsafe. Finally, I will close by saying, please make sure TAP can continue to play this role for these vulnerable homeowners. Thank you.
Okay, the next speaker is Angela Penn.
Good evening, Mayor Lee, members of council. Thank you for the opportunity to speak this evening. I'm Angela Penn, Senior Vice President at Total Action Against Poverty, and I am advocating for the continuation of major rehabilitation services for homeowners in the Belmont-Fallon community. For 6 years, TAP has provided major rehabilitation services to the city's target neighborhood. Among the housing partners of the Roanoke Neighborhood Revitalization Partnership, TAP is the only agency that offers major rehabilitation assistance for owner-occupied families. In fiscal year 2021-2022, we received $194,000 in funding. In the current year, 22-23, we are utilizing $265,000 in funding, and on average, each home that is renovated averages about $57,000. TAP has matched the Community Development Block Grant funds with $152,372 in state funds. Without major rehabilitation opportunities for homeowners, CDBG-eligible families will not be able to afford large repairs such as roof replacements, heating and cooling system replacements, electrical and plumbing system upgrades, window replacement, and other various home improvement needs. Without the homeowner's ability to afford those repairs to their home, it could lead to a risk of increased homes in blight and in uninhabitable conditions. Currently, there are 20 families in the Belmont-Fallon community that are on our waiting list that are seeking major rehabilitation services. With that, we ask that the city continue to think of TAP and those citizens that need that service. And we ask that as the only provider of major rehabilitation services for homeowners, and that we have done quality work in this field since the inception of the program, we ask respectfully that you consider continuing to allocate funds to our agency to provide this vital needed services to residents within the community. Thank you so much for your consideration.
Thank you.
Mayor Lee, that was the last speaker on that matter.
All right, thank you. So with the final speaker in 5B, we're going to close the public hearing and move to 5C, which is the proposed real estate tax increase. And now I'm going to open the public hearing and call on my clerk to introduce the speakers in the order that they signed up.
Okay, we have 3 speakers, and I will call them in the order that they should come. Jeff Hazlett, Warren Hargis, and Sherman Bumford.
Good evening there, Mayor and City Council. My name is Jeffrey Hazlett. I've been living in Roanoke City all my life. In 1987, I bought the house that I'm living in now. Been living there. I've been paying the taxes. I like to pay on time, and I do it in person most of the time, because if you don't, you put it in the mail and it gets lost, and you contact the city, and why you billing me, you're going to pay that 10% penalty. They don't want to hear no sad story. So I always like to come down here, pay in person, get that receipt, staple it. Never had a problem. But here, about 8 years ago, I noticed that y'all added the stormwater fee to the real estate. Then 3 years later, here comes the trash pickup fee. All right, Roanoke City, we're paying $1.22 per 100, and that's the highest on this side of the western part of the state of Virginia. So I'm looking at it and I'm figuring it up. I live 2 blocks from Roanoke County.
and a block and a half from Salem. If I would move my house and my property 2 blocks to Roanoke County, I would save myself, don't sound like much, but $420 a year. They just reduced their tax from $1.09 per 100 to $1.06 per 100. Bedford County, the lowest tax rate in the area was 50 cents. Their city council voted down to 41 cents. First of this week, Montgomery County, 89 cents per $100. Their board of supervisors first voted to knock it down to 73 cents. One of the supervisors said, listen, our citizens are hurting right now. Inflation is high. Let's knock it down to 70 cents. They took another vote. It's down to 70 cents. Right now, Roanoke City, y'all talking about going up again on the tax rate. Roanoke City is probably the 7th highest tax city in the state of Virginia. And right now, people are hurting because of the high inflation in this country that started 2 years, 3 months, and 7 days to date. And it's a self-inflicted wound. Wasn't like the inflation that started back in the 70s when you had somebody in office, didn't start it, but didn't know how to fix it. I paid 10.5% interest in 1987. That was the going rate at the time. 8 years before that, it was $18. 18%. We got it down to 3.5. Now it's up to 6.5 at the current time. People can't afford this stuff when we got the inflation. And we're getting ready to probably get into the end of the year into a recession. We don't want to hear taxes going up. We want to hear taxes are coming down, like Bedford County, Montgomery County, and our closest neighbor, Roanoke County. Roanoke City needs to listen and understand. Cut the budget, city manager. Cut back on wasteful spending. Maybe cut back, not on all the salary increases, but for the higher tier people that get paid close to 6 figures, maybe cut them back a little bit on their salaries as far as increase in pay raises. You can't keep on hitting the citizens of Roanoke. We're hurting. Like I said, I can afford to move to Roanoke County, body type, but I've been living here all my life. I don't want to move. But I can be forced to move. Keep on raising those taxes, I will move. But let's reduce it. Do like our neighbors. And I appreciate that. I got a petition I've been getting people to sign. And it's in the 4 sectors of Roanoke: northwest, northeast, southwest, and southeast. I'd like to give it to the clerk. Y'all can look at it, but I got a petition. It took me about 2 months. I didn't walk around every day. I don't like knocking on doors. People, think you're trying to sell them something. And but I met a lot of nice people, and I just want to thank you for listening to me. And like I said, we're going through tough times right now. We're in high inflation. We don't want to keep on seeing high taxes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, do we have Warren Hargis? Okay. And Sherman Bumford?
Mr. Mayor and member of City Council, I'd like to speak on the tax rate. The largest asset of the moderate income person is not stocks and bonds, it's a home. And I fear that your actions are making affordable home owning more out of reach. The tax rate will hit those in affordable housing the most. Matthew Desmond, the prize-winning author of the book Evicted, and more recently the book Poverty by America, was recently interviewed. He said that 27% of the homes sold in America last year were under $100,000. But 4% of those were not paid by mortgage. Many of them were siphoned off by private equity companies, landlords, and other speculators. Looking at the GIS for Roanoke, and I fear that that is happening as well here. I see a lot of the housing in that price range, the affordable home price range, is being bought by companies, LLCs, and companies that large landowners who are speculating. The raising the taxes in Roanoke is making homeowning taxes are a significant component of homeowning, and raising the taxes is putting that more out of reach for the average person. I know that on my street, I don't see houses going up in value. Some of the housing stock has actually gone down in value. But over the last 2 years, the city is proposing assessment increase of 40% in 2 years. That just seems to me unreasonable. I asked the real estate office here in the municipal building about that, and they said, oh, you're in affordable housing. That's the component that's getting hit the most with these increases. So I'm asking you, like other localities, to provide some kind of reasonable tax relief for homeowners of Roanoke, especially those in the affordable home sector of the market. I know that I will be making some choices because of these tax increases, the high price of groceries, the high taxes, even dog food. I'm going to be eating out less in locally owned restaurants. I'll be going to fewer locally owned businesses because I have to make choices. And fortunately, I know how to cook. But people are going to be making choices. People may not be pushed out of the housing market because of what we see in the market because of the high taxes. So I urge you to think carefully about this as you do the budget and the tax rate and decisions you're making. Thank you.
Thank you.
That was the last speaker.
Thank you. All right, with that being the last speaker on the proposed real estate tax increase, I'm going to close the public hearing. Please note that City Council will adopt the recommended FY 2023-2024 budget along with other related measures and consider actions with respect to the proposed 2023 annual plan update to the 2020-2024 five-year HUD consolidated plan and proposed real estate tax increase during a City Council meeting on Monday, May 8th at 2:00 p.m. Let me thank all of you all that came down tonight to speak. We've noted that, and we'll continue our deliberations on all of the budget items that were brought to you tonight. All right, with there being no further business to come before the council, this recess meeting is adjourned. Thank you.